Welcome to Bembem's Nature, and what I'm going to do now is to create a terrarium using this big wonderful jar. This is a bit more challenging because the jar is has a very small mouth, about 1 inch mouth, and what I'm going to do is a closed jar terrarium, meaning after making the whole design I'm going to close this and so that it has its own self-sustained ecosystem here inside, just like any terrarium. But before that, I would like to show you some of my jarred natures. I have here different kind of this one has been already featured in my first terrarium YouTube presentation. This is almost, I think, about 2 months already, and it's doing well. I did some maintenance and I think it's doing well. I opened only this once for trimming because the plants are now growing. This was my very first terrarium ever. It's been already 3 months since August, and this is more of my experiment, wherein all my improvements and mistakes are coming from this jar. But it's been 3 months already. I did some maintenance also, and I think it's doing well. There are already roots on this creeping weed, and the moss is doing well also. By the way, most of the plants are only can be found all around our backyard. I have several mini terrarium. I tried this one. This is already about 2 months, only for the moss, and I think it's doing well. Never been opened, and it's doing well. I have new ones. I think this is all about only more than a week. I call this mini bamboo forest. I think it's doing well, but it's not yet finished because I have to make a decorative cover to make it more, nice to see and natural to see. But nevertheless, inside it's doing well for almost a week. And this one also is a mini terrarium. Before it's just a stem, now it is now growing, and I hope it do well. Almost a week now. I also have here a very tiny terrarium. I came from used bottle, spice bottle. I think it's also doing well. There is also what we call ecosphere, and like this. An ecosphere is it's like an aquarium, but it is closed. Okay, and it has its own ecosystem, self-sustained ecosystem. This is one example. It's been already about 2 weeks. It's doing well. There are small snails inside, so yeah. And I'm still testing on other materials, and I hope this goes well so that it will give me more confidence in making new ecosphere, the bigger ones. But anyway, these are my few examples and things that I did, and this time I want to make a bigger one, and somebody gave me this beautiful jar. And as I've said, the challenge is how to put the whole terrarium here with this small mounted jar. Okay. So I already have plans in doing that. As usual, I'll do the false bottom here, which we will see later. But this jar will feature a dwarf caladium, this green one and the red one. And I'll put a bit few stuff also to make the jar more in a natural looking presentation. Okay, so join me as I will set up this terrarium. First, let us make sure that there is a clean and dry jar. Okay, so that there is no contamination that will happen. Then of course we will do the false bottom. There are many ways of doing false bottom. Just check YouTube channels or even in other social media, then you can find and select which one's best for you. So in doing false bottom, we first put stones or gravel in the jar. The false bottom will serve as a reservoir to the whole terrarium. It will keep the water underneath, then which in turn will make the whole terrarium moist and of course well watered. So it is important that there are larger stones so that the water will be preserved underneath. Then after putting some stones, you may I just added very small gravel just to level off the whole bottom. Okay, as you can see, it's a mixture of big and small stone. Then after that, we'll put the mesh. It is best if you do not use a metal mesh because it might rust. Plastic mesh will really do well. You can buy it anywhere, maybe in some tailoring shop. Then you can get polyester or plastic mesh. So you cut the mesh the same as the size or the diameter of the jar. In this case, I have a 6-inch diameter jar. Then I cut the mesh just as big as the size of the jar. Then place the mesh on the top of the gravel or the stones. And after that, we will place the active carbon or charcoal on top of the mesh. This charcoal will make the water clean and filter the dirt that might be carried by the water in going down. It also separates the substrate or the dirt or the soil where our plants are planted. So every time the water comes down, it will of course bring in dirt, but it will be trapped and filtered with our charcoal, and it goes down back to the gravel, and it's a very clean and pure water. Okay, so yeah, then after putting the active carbon or the charcoal, I suggest that we use this wooden charcoal than the cocoa charcoal, because the wooden charcoal cannot be easily be powderized, and there are also some kind of air pockets in there wherein the water can also be stored. It is also where our springtail will going to propagate. Then okay, we level off maybe at 1 or 1.5 inch thickness is okay, or as thick as our gravel at the bottom. Then the next step is to put now our substrates, or in my case it's a mixed soil. I was the one who just mixed it using different kind of soil, which I believe the plant will going to get a lot of nutrition, but at the same time maintain moisture also. So in putting the substrate, you have to consider what kind of plant you are also going to place there, because some plants like moist soil, other plants like sandy, rocky kind of a soil. So it depends on the kind of plant you are going to put inside the terrarium. So in this case, I'm putting caladium, and caladium usually like to maintain its moist. Okay, then we just estimate the thickness of the substrate, of which we think if the plant will going to settle its roots. So from time to time we spray some water, because sometimes if the dirt covers some part of the jar and you cannot actually see anymore the design that you wanted to do. Don't worry about spraying a lot, because the water that we use to spray will become part of the terrarium. So then let's move on to planting. Okay, so I'm going to plant already the dwarf caladium. Of course, it's quite challenging. I thought it is easier, but when the time comes that you're the one doing it, I find it quite challenging because of this small mouth. So while I have some tools or equipment like these tweezers, long tweezers, it's not really necessary. If you can find a way to put in the plant as efficient and easy as you want, then doesn't matter what kind of tools that you're going to use, so long as you can do the job. But of course, long tweezers will be definitely a big help in doing this, especially if the jar is tall and you cannot put inside your hand, because it's easier if the mouth is big enough so that your hand can go in, then it's easy to plant. But in this case, it's quite challenging. Okay. Then you just also try to see while you are planting to provide a little space, because you are expecting that this plant will grow a bit. I chose dwarf caladium because they are really very small and they can only reach at about 4 or 6 inches. So it's ideal for terrarium. Then of course, the main plants are not the only one that is inside the terrarium, so you will also put some decorative, maybe a vine, a small vine, or a weed, something that makes the whole terrarium look natural. So sometimes they really grow fast and crawl, and you'll just have to maintain it or trim it from time to time when it overcrowds already the whole space. That's it. So long as the plants are already well settled in the substrate, then as the terrarium goes, it will definitely take its root. Again, if you want a substrate that really is well fertilized, you can always buy. It's all over. In my case, I only concoct my own mixed soil because most of the plants, as I have said, are all taken from our backyards or surrounding environs. So this is it. See, it's already there, the main plants, the caladium. I also placed some crawling weeds. I don't know the name yet. Then I'm going to put some twigs, or maybe a twig, a decorative wood. Then maybe a few stones. Arrange it in such a way that it looks like natural. You also notice that in some jars there are some kind of a line that divides the jar into half. So you have to make sure to know which is your front or your back without putting your design at the middle of that half line. So in my case, the one at the back are the one that I'm putting the stones and the twig there, and the front one is where the whole caladium is being presented. I add also some acorn to spice things up. Okay, so that's it. I have already the false bottom covered. We have the substrate, and I placed the dwarf caladium plants inside already. It's very challenging. You need a lot of patience to do it because the mouth is very small, and all the equipment is very hard to fit. Unlike when the mouth is big, then we can actually put your hands inside. It's easy to plant. So that's why if you are going to do this using a jar with a small mouth, then you have to be very patient and just be creative how to put the plants inside and all the materials. So this is the dwarf caladium, the reddish leaf and the green one. I placed also a crawling vine inside. I placed some decorative twig inside. So now it's complete, but we still need to put one last element inside. make it a little bit more self-sustained ecosystem inside. And we usually put inside something that used to decompose things, dead leaves and all this, and we call this springtail. See this? These are springtails. Okay, so we will, you see that white thing that is springing up, that's why it's called springtail. Okay, so anyway, we will place some of this inside the terrarium. Let's see here. Let's put some. Sorry. There are no. So you see that? So their job is to clean the whole thing, to eat the dead leaves, and they will propagate inside and help make a balanced ecosystem inside. Okay, that's it. So we're done. Natin, we have enough moisture. So this moisture, or the water inside, will eventually evaporate here because this is closed. This will going to evaporate and it will condense and drop again. That's why we need to have a false bottom, so that otherwise it will create it will rot the roots of our plants. So it will create enough humidity, and the water will just cycle from here, then it will evaporate and condense and creates its own ecosystem. Okay. And it's important that this will thrive, because that is the measurement of doing well. If your terrarium is doing well, it means it's thriving, it's alive, and all you have to do is just maintain it or trim it when it grows fast. Okay, so this is it. We will now cover this one. It could have been nice if we have some forks, but obviously most of the forks do not fit. So temporarily we will just going to make use of this one. Okay, we are going to seal this now. So now it's completely closed. Just have to decorate it or things like that, but I'll just cover this first. But we will going to decorate also this cup, so that it will look nice also. Okay, so now we have the final and complete terrarium. So as usual, I usually name my creations. So just a comment if help me name this creation, and put it in the comment section. Okay, so this is part 1 of my featuring jarred natures. There will be part 2, and next time it will be Ecosphere. For now, this is it. I hope you liked it. If you liked it, please press like. You can also of course subscribe if you're still new in my channel. Okay, so see you in my next video. I hope you liked it.